Do you see any of this connected to end time stuff? There's videos going around, they're going super viral, of the red heifers.
On like Saturday night, you would see like thousands of people. I remember driving with my friend in his car, being stuck, like suddenly out of nowhere, like 100,000 people showed up.
You guys are bombing Gaza, and then you're going deeper into these Palestinian areas.
Yeah. Yes, I'm from Israel. Yes, I'm praying for the nation of Israel. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna give them, like you said, a blank check to do whatever they want. Fighting in Gaza is one of them. It's like the hardest place in the world to fight in.
Ruslan.
All right, special Resurrection Sunday episode. This is why I'm in the drip today, okay? And speaking of Resurrection Sunday, I'm with my friend who is from the land of where the resurrection occurred. He is a phenomenal worship leader. He is a man of God. He is a Messianic follower of Jesus. Without any further ado, we have Emmanuel Roro.
Oh, my bro.
Did I say it right?
Yes.
Man, can you pull the mic up a little closer? He prophesied that earlier.
He knows.
Okay, let me fix that for you. There we go. All right, man. So last time you were on the channel, we were in Israel at the tattoo shop. What was the name of the tattoo shop? Razuk in the old city. I got it yatted. I got it tatted up, right? And you were giving us some of the context of just life in Israel and the tension of being a follower of Jesus in Israel. And some things have changed. A couple things have happened since then. And so tell me a little bit about how life has changed for you personally since October 7th. And just like, what has it been living in Israel? You've been here in the States for a little bit traveling, but what's it been like in Israel? And like, what's like the vibe?
It's like, right before October 7th happened, Israel was pretty, divided because of like political stuff. In the midst of all of that things, October 7th happened, and it caught me off guard. It caught everybody off guard. I remember it was a Saturday morning, which means like for you guys Sunday. Everybody's like resting, nobody's working, and I just got a notification on my phone. Terrorists are in Israel. Things are. I couldn't believe. I watched, because today you get everything to your hand in seconds. So you're just like, oh, and I actually didn't believe. I thought it was like scam, a prank, something happened. I texted my friend and my brother, and they were like sending me videos. I'm like, bro, this is a real thing happening right now. And I was like, oh no. I couldn't believe what is happening. And I was like just trying to digest what happened. I remember that I was going through the day, and it was so fast that this old sense of security I had in my country, like trusting even my own strength or the government or the military or whatever, just vanished in a second. In a second. So it's like I couldn't look to anywhere. Like, where is my help is going to come from?
That's heavy, man. So you served in the IDF.
Yeah.
Your brother is still in the IDF. You have a lot of friends in the IDF.
Yeah.
What was your impression of, okay, now Israel has to go in and make sure that, well, first of all, contain the situation.
Yeah.
Then they have to go in and wipe out Hamas. Yeah. Right? Now, how they do that is going to be controversial, and it's going to be tension there. And I think something that people miss is like Israel is just like monolith, and like everyone is like pro Bibi and whatever Netanyahu says to do. And it's not like that. It wasn't like that when I was there, and it's not like that when I speak to anyone in Israel. Israel is just as seems just as, if not more, polarized as America when it comes to the politics within Israel. So, being someone that was in the IDF, what do you make of the military operation?
Yeah. So, right after what happened, I was surprised what happened, how evil, human beings can get. And like, of course, I realized, because a newborn believer, it's like demonic powers and everything. And it's like the immediate reaction that came from most people is like, they wanted revenge, spirit of revenge. And it's like, and I asked the Lord to show me what, his heart in this situation. Of course Israel needs to respond. There's like hostages, like, the price is huge. And even before October 7 happened, they were like, we know it in Israel. You know, you have the winter time and then you have the summertime, and then something happens, and then Israel goes for a short operation, and then it continues to go. It's the same, like the people in the southern area were going to receive rockets. It was like status quo that was held. But this time it was like they crossed all the red lines. So Israel had to respond in a way. But it's like, but still divided, because people were really caring in Israel for the hostages. People lost trust for the prime minister, for Benjamin Netanyahu. So like, it was hard. Actually, we united. Israel united in that day. It's helped to unite them, but still you have those different voices. So you don't know, because if you want to go for the hostages, but you want to destroy Hamas, it's like, it's hard to accomplish both things. It's like, it's really messy and complicated situation that Israel is been right now. My country is in right now, but I feel like they're doing their best to accomplish those goals, even though the other side is suffering from what is happening. But Israel must go and accomplish those things, because the people in Israel, the Israelis, they want Hamas to end. And I believe that even people in Gaza that are suffering from Hamas, want Hamas to end. But just like to find the way to do that in the best way.
Is it fair to say that what's best operationally to get the hostages back is not necessarily best to push Hamas to destruction? Is that a fair assessment of the situation?
It's hard for me to say, because it's easy for us, even as an American government, let's say Joe Biden will tell something Bibi, and it's be on the press, but probably inside rooms he will say something else, something different, and what they're seeing, the whole picture is probably different. I just hoping and trusting that the Israeli government is doing whatever, even though I don't have faith specifically. Like you have like camps in Israel, you have camps for Bibi, like it's a Iraq Bibi, which means for only Bibi, and it's camp that says like Iraq Lo Bibi, which means only not Bibi. So you have like two different camps in Israel. There's people that like or either for Bibi or either not for Bibi, and like even if I'm not for Bibi, I hope that he's acting in a way. Of course, that's not only his only decisions. There are like a lot of people around him that make the decision. They have like
there's a coalition, right? And even people from the opposition that are on the coalition as well, right? So do you think that the majority of Israel is standing with Bibi in some of his policies? Bibi's Netanyahu, for those of you guys who don't know. Or do you think the majority of Israel is not with Bibi right now? Because it's really hard to gauge. I feel like prior October 7th, there was a lot of infighting. You guys had the constitutional amendment that they were trying to change. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that and just some of the internal protests and everything leading up to October 7th?
So there was like this law that they were trying to pass. It's basically will give so much power to the coalition that they would be able to override some of the Supreme Courts, basically.
Yeah. So they have. It sounds like you guys have similar. We have 3 branches here. Yeah. You got. I don't know how many branches you guys, but it seems to be checks and balances. You have the Supreme Court, and then you have the executive branch or the coalition, and this law that they were trying to pass would have allowed the executive branch, the president, to override anything that the Supreme Court passed. Which is not good. Yeah.
It will solve some things, but it will create more
issues.
More issues. Like was many people were scared that it was like will just like harm the most basic things that like freedom of speech, those things that will be override. So that when that happened, people in Israel went to the street, like where I live.
Massive protests.
Yeah, I live in Tel Aviv, and like every weekend on like Saturday night. You would see like thousands of people. I remember driving with my friend in his car and being stuck. Like suddenly out of nowhere, like 100,000 people showed up and just protest against that. Just in that kind of environment, October 7 happened.
So that's interesting that there was so much tension leading up to October 7th that most people don't even know about, right? So right now, as it stands, on the ground, I haven't looked at any of the polls or any of the data, so I don't know. But on the ground, are people with Bibi or do they want him out?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because if I look back to October 7th, people were they were like frustrated, so frustrated of what happened. So like, no more Bibi. He led us to this situation. And basically, not only him, but all of the way how they dealt with Hamas through the years, everything led to that thing to occur. So people were frustrated of Benjamin Netanyahu. But as I see that the world started moving, you know, and time passed, you know, something's like about time, how time can affect ourselves. Even if something so hard happens, time can change things. Some people are coming back to the BB's camp again. I still feel like most people are not.
Really? So you think most people are not for him?
Yeah, anymore.
Interesting. I think there's a lot of criticism to go around, and you tell me what you think. Is this entering conspiracy theory land, or is this reasonable with the people that were near those kibbutz? That's how you say that word, right?
Yeah, kibbutz, yeah.
Were not fans of Bibi and the conservative right-wing arm. And then they moved a lot of the military presence away from the Gaza border and put it towards the West Bank. And so it was like the people that got the worst affected by it were the people that didn't care for him. And there's theories. I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or this is reasonable to think. It's like the government intentionally pulled out some of the military presence because they're like, these people in the kibbutz are like socialists and weirdos, you know, and they all want to live on a compound together, right? And so like, you know, we don't need as much protection for them. Like, is that a fair way of thinking?
I don't think that extreme way, like
it wasn't that intentional.
Yeah, but for you, you're right. Those people that live in the kibbutzim, a lot of them. Actually, one of them, she was the leader of one of the largest organizations. That there are some like small group of Israelis that are come against the Israeli military or like different groups. So one of like, I think she was like the CEO, like the head of that. She was murdered on October 7th. It's like, and she was the one that's hoping that one day they were like straight hand of peace. She was like
so tragic.
So
and so I say all that to say that like the people that were negatively affected, slaughtered, murdered on October 7th were the people most likely to be of a more empathetic Palestinian perspective, right? And those are the people that the terrorists went in and butchered.
Exactly. The people that they were like the closest. Actually, I don't know if the head of Hamas, like the leader, Yahya Sinwar, that's right now in Gaza, he was years ago, like 2011, there was like a release of many people for one Israeli hostage soldier, Gilad Shalit, and Yahya Sinwar was one of the terrorists that was released, but he was really sick. So one doctor, I think it was cancer, I don't remember the exact disease, but he was really sick, and he was treated by Israel, and he got healed by one doctor, and he went back to Gaza, and now orchestrated all October 7 now, and what's crazy, that doctor, his nephew was murdered on October 7th.
Jeez.
And he was the one that saves Yahya Sinwar's life.
That's so weird.
So it's like...
Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is a question I think the world is asking, and a lot of people are asking in a lot of conversations. I think there's people that go, Israel has a right to exist as a nation. Regardless on 1947, 48, all the history, this war, that war. Right now, this is where we are. Israel has a right to exist as a nation. Israel should have a right to borders and to safety. However, do you think that the Israeli military and the people calling the shots on the military strategy are doing everything they can to mitigate civilian casualties on the Gaza side? Or do you think they just don't give a crap and they're just going in with some vengeance?
So I've been there, and I've experienced the military. I've seen it from the inside. I can say I cannot talk to every person in the military. I don't know everything.
Not every individual. We can't speak for every IDF member.
Exactly. But I know that Israel is doing its best to not have casualties with innocent civilians. Israel has right now over almost 300 dead soldiers in the ground operation, and they could just manage that without like just bombing from the air. You know, Israel using less than 10% of their air force power, so they could like just send rockets, clear the way. Of course, not hitting the hostages, but no, they're intentionally wanting to not hit civilians. They're sending alerts to cell phones and flyers, people to evacuate. But Hamas using people is basically human shit, and it's not like a cheesy thing to say. This is what the reality. This is what's happening. I believe that Israel is doing its best as a whole to not hit people, but to go for the terrorists and clear it up.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to hear from someone like you, because last time when you were on the channel, you talked about some of the tension of being a Christian in Israel, right? It's a very small community in Israel that, from the way you're talking, and I don't want to speak on your behalf, but it doesn't sound like you're the biggest fan of Benjamin Netanyahu, right? So I'm trying to give people like an insight into, forget what you're hearing on the news, like here's an insight to an actual Israeli citizen perspective, right? This is as someone who served in the military, your brother's in the military, you have friends in the military. I'm trying to draw that out, right? So they can get a more authentic, realistic picture of what the sentiment on the ground is.
Yeah, 100%.
Can you unpack a little bit about the conservative arm, the ultra orthodox, the people that are pushing for more settlements in the West Bank, and kind of unpack some of that for us? Because I think that's a bit confusing, because we're hearing stuff. And you also said earlier when we were having dinner, you said Benjamin Netanyahu is the greatest politician you think ever, right, in the world right now.
Yes.
So like, just unpack some of the positioning of this sort of stuff, that it's not just as like Israel good or Israel bad, that there is actual conflicts and tensions within Israel.
There's a lot of conflicts and tensions, especially between the camp of only Bibi and only not Bibi. And when Benjamin Netanyahu was able to form a coalition, he was needed to take, you know, in Israel you don't have like one Democrat or Republican country. You have many parties, and some of them are big parties. The one that's been chosen, like the most votes, they be able to form a coalition, building up with different parties together. So Benjamin Netanyahu, what he's doing usually is like, he has a really big party, and he takes small parties with him. So it's going to be small party of ultra-Orthodox Jews and really right-wing.
So what's the difference between ultra-Orthodox and really right-wing? Because they're not the same, right?
Yeah, so you have different just Jewish faith. You have Orthodox Jewish that are, you have just normal Jewish, secular Jewish, you know, you can be secular Jewish.
And that's the majority of Israelis. They're secular Jewish, right?
I think most are Orthodox and traditional Jews, but you have a lot of secular Jews. So secular Jews, and you have religious Jews that they keep some of the stuff, you know, they keep the Shabbat, and like they eat kosher, and then you have some really right wing, which is like in Israel, some of them they call them Messianic, but not in the form of Messianic Jews, like what I call myself as like believer. Like Messianic was like more they go to like to really, really, really right in a way that they want the whole Israel, isn't like not even the West Bank. They want to go to the biblical Israel. So they want to, you know, so they build the settlements. And
so those are the folks that are going deeper and deeper into the West Bank.
Yes.
And deeper and deeper into these settlements, zone A, zone B, zone C, and is not helping the geopolitical perspective on this is not helping. It's like you guys are bombing Gaza, and then you're going deeper into these Palestinian areas and taking more and having more neighborhoods. And it sounds like Bibi has been more sympathetic towards that community.
He's sympathetic not because he wants or this is what he thinks and like. It is acting that way because all of those small parties blackmail him, because if he won't go with them, they won't form a coalition with him. So Bibi will do everything he can to stay in power. So that's that's what hard for me. That's when a small group gets to just blackmail the prime minister and get so many stuff or like pass different laws for them and like.
Now, did they serve in the military? You said the right wing. Did they serve in the military? Because I know ultra orthodox don't typically serve in the military.
So ultra orthodox typically, if you you say that you go to study the Torah, to study the Bible, you get a pass and you get sponsored from the country. Different life, but the right wing Jews, like Orthodox Jews, a lot of them serve in the military, and they are like they call them like salt of the land. They're people that really love the land and like serve. There was like one incident in Israel, and this like the past few months, where the terrorist attack happened in Jerusalem, and guy started shooting people, and that one of soldier that he was really from that type of group saw the terrorists, he shot the people. Another guy came and defused the terrorist, but that guy, he was Israeli defusing the terrorist, and he defused the terrorist, and that soldier came later. He saw that guy after he defused, he saw with the gun, he shot him, and that guy was on his knees, but that was a spirit of revenge. So
Hold on. Terrorist comes, a guy neutralizes the terrorist.
Yes, Israeli guy.
Jewish guy?
Yes.
And then the right-wing guy then shoots the guy who neutralized the terrorist?
Yeah, and that Israeli was on his knees, dropped his gun, was on the video. But just like the spirit of like, so you have...
why did he shoot? Was it an accident? Did he think he was the terrorist?
I think he was just fed in his mind that he wanted to kill a terrorist. Like, was for him so exciting.
Did the guy die?
Yes, the guy died.
The guy who neutralized the terrorist ended up getting killed.
And the guy that... like
this
I have
a
common faith family that it's crazy.
Did he get charged for that?
So now this is like why pushing. The family wants justice,
of course,
for this guy. It was like he saved the situation. He killed the terrorist, but he still got.
Was
killed.
he Arab? Or was he just like a regular Jewish guy?
Regular Jewish guy, like a French background.
Wow, my God! And something similar happened in Gaza, right? Where some of the hostages came out with white flags, saying, "Hey," like, and then they got killed by some IDF soldiers, which was a big mess up.
So, fighting in Gaza is one of them. It's like the hardest place in the world to fight in. And when those basically hostages came, they were like, I think they were like a few days like out there escaping, and they had their best luck not being found in Gaza, and they had like everything. They wrote on the wall 3 hostages here, please, and they were going, but it was like when you see a lot of the terrorists in Gaza using those tactics as well, so they come as hostages, and even some of the tunnels they will put the tapes of voices of hostages saying, "I'm here, please come," and there's like explosive inside.
Oh gosh!
So it's like it's very hard. So I cannot judge the soldiers
those
inside.
Soldiers specifically,
inside.
Because that could be an honest mistake, or that could just be honest mistake. That could be incompetence, poor training, or that could be potentially somebody being vengeful and not knowing and thinking that those are actually terrorists.
Yeah, but the one in Jerusalem, I was like, I've seen the videos. Like the guy was on his knees, his hand was the air, still got shot.
So then that leads me to like where we are now, which is you have the UN throwing around the word genocide, which I personally don't think that's fair. You have this operation to go into Rafah where they're saying there's 1.5 or 1.7 million Palestinians living in tents. Israel saying, hey, we have to go in, and this is where Hamas is hiding out. Considering the stuff we just talked about, like, do you think they can go in and do a clean military operation without another 30,000 civilians dying?
I don't think that there's clean is the word that we can use anymore.
Clean is out.
Yeah, it's because everybody's down there. And even if they would want to start evacuating people to the northern part of Gaza, already terrorists are moving from that area, from the southern way to northern Gaza through the tunnels. So it's like Israel must do something. I don't know what they would do, but it would be really hard because so many people right now are there. It's like it sounds like Yes.
It sounds like no matter what happens, unfortunately, there's going to be hostages that die. Well, hostages that die and civilians that die. Yeah. That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. Is there anything you could tell us in America, the people that watch this channel, maybe the people that are hostile towards Israel, to give us any sort of context or give us any sort of insight on maybe how we should view this situation?
Yeah, like talking in a perspective of more is like spiritual perspective and not like focusing on the physical reality. Is like we know that everything that happened in the physical realm is affected by the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
And right before what happened in Israel, that the same year, it was like, I don't know if you heard about Isaiah 5, when like so many Christians around the world prayed for Israel. And actually before October 7th happened, like a few hundreds or thousands something Christians went to the Gaza Strip. They were there like 2 days before what happened, and they prayed for the Gaza Strip area. And then that happened. I'm like, if God is asking us, Psalm 122, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, there is a reason for that. And also he asks us to pray in Isaiah 40, comfort my people. And Israel been through the history, very hardships. And I know that if God is choosing someone, there is you better believe that all the powers of hell will come against that one, you know. So no matter how Israel is going to react, or I'm praying for the peace. And I pray for the reconciliation, because I see that in my life. I have friends, you know, Arab friends, and what unites us is our faith in Jesus, in Yeshua. And there is one Prince of Peace that's going to come and bring peace that will be everlasting.
Amen.
Yeshua.
Talk a little bit about that. You said you have Arab friends. A lot of people don't know that many Arabs in Israel are actually Christians.
Yes.
Right? A lot of where we did our last video, which we'll try to link it up, it was at the tattoo shop, which was owned by a Palestinian Christian family, right? Talk about, obviously people are familiar with Christians being spat on in Israel. That doesn't seem like that sounds like a minority situation with some right-wing people. But just talk a little bit about what's it like being a Christian, a follower of Yeshua in Israel.
You know, so you have kind of being a Messianic, like Jewish follower of Jesus, sometimes can be challenging, because when you are a Jew, you can believe in anything. You know, you can be an atheist, you can believe in Buddha, you can do whatever, and you still consider Jewish by the Orthodox Jewish community. But when you mention the name of Jesus, you are no longer a Jew. So they take you, just push you out of the group. But now what we're doing is like, no, it's like Jesus is the most Jewish thing you can believe in. He's the Jewish Messiah. He's one of us.
When you say you're no longer a Jew, like, is your like citizenship at risk? Like, what do you mean by that?
You know, so your citizenship is not in risk. But for instance, if you want to make, we call this process to ascend, means to immigrate to Israel as Jewish, because there's a law that says every Jew can come back to their homeland. If they will find out that you are believing in Jesus, but you have all the papers and you are Jewish, they will say, you believe in Jesus, you are no longer a Jew, so they will cancel you. But if you are already in the country, usually they cannot do anything, because you are, you know, you serve, you do everything.
Sure. So talk a little bit about the viral video some people have seen, and then they kind of use that to create this blanket that all Israelis are anti-Christian. Unpack that, and who's doing that, what groups are doing that, and give us a bit more context on that.
It probably was, I've seen that video, it's like kids, like the spitting on some Christians walking, because they basically believe that they do something like kind of sorcery, but that's small group, you know, that's extreme, really extremist. And I've experienced that. We had on June, end of May, where the worship night in Jerusalem was open to all, whoever wants to come, worship night for God in Hebrew. This is what we do. And then to that worship night, many ultra-Orthodox Jews came, and the extreme anti-missionaries parties that came, and they blocked the entrance. And they were like pushing them, like people, moms with children, people that want to enter and worship, and they're like pushing them like, missionaries don't enter, yada yada yada. It's like there's a pushback, but when they come with the groups and they take usually kids that don't understand and try to, you know, push them back on you. But usually when you talk one-to-one to people, and it's more reasonable. Then we understand and talking with you. Of course, we'll agree to disagree, but
yeah. So it's not as prevalent as we see on the internet. Meaning, so hypothetically, say we did an event in Israel. Say I came, say Pastor Jeff came, you led worship, and we did like a 1-day event. Do you think there would be pushback?
From what I see and experience, Israel is a free country. You can express your faith, no matter if you are Jew, Muslim, Christian. You can do and express your faith. Of course, if you are doing something that it's merely publicized to Israelis and stuff, there are some organizations that are actually anti-missionary in Israel.
Anti-missionary.
Anti-missionary organizations. But, you know, they won't be able to stop you because the law is for you, you know, the police and, you know, the police will come and basically will defend the event. You will be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. But there might be some protest.
Yeah, protest.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So, how do you see this situation being resolved in terms of Hamas? Where do you think this is going? And what do you think like the next 6 months to a year is going to look like?
Hard for me to say, because right now we are in a moment that is really unclear. Like if you ask me like 2 months ago, I would like to think that Israel will finish the job, and I hope that it won't escalate to the northern border. This is what I really think till now. Is like it won't escalate to the northern border because it would be nasty if it will. But right now in Gaza, I don't really know if they would be able. I hope. I'm just praying for the hostages to come back home. You know, it's like God to set those people free, and like I believe that God can do it even more than any politician or any military or anything else. It's hard to say, but I'm hoping and I'm praying that this thing will be resolved. At least the hostages will come back home, and we will try to build something from there. You
obviously read the Bible. You were talking about the passages to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Do you see any of this connected to end times stuff? There's videos going around that are going super viral of the red heifers being raised up to be shipped over to Israel. Right? You're seeing some of this stuff. What do you make of that stuff in terms of the connection to this being an end times preeminent thing or setting off the course of events? What do you think of that stuff? So, and are you keeping up with the red heifer stuff?
A little bit. I've heard of it, but the fact that Israel exists right now, and you have people, and you have Jewish believers that seeing their Messiah, Yeshua, as a savior, it's like something that really given an alert of like, oh, something we're end times vibes. But I see what happened October 7th really change and shift the atmosphere in Israel. I hope that, and I'm praying that God will use that to bring more people in Gaza, all over the region, especially in Israel, to know Him, because people lost hope. And I found my hope again in Yeshua, in Jesus, because I had where to look up. Many people don't have where to look up, but we offer Jesus as, you know, He is the real hope for humanity. And I think that when we will start seeing more Jewish people coming to faith, and I have also understanding that when a lot of Christians will show their love to Israel and just show their love to their Jewish Messiah and cause them jealousy, and then cause their hearts to turn back to Jesus and see, oh, this is our brother, this is our firstborn brother. That's when I would think Jesus is coming back, because Jesus said, until you say, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord, I won't be back. So there's like a key to His return in their salvation.
So you're expecting revival in Israel, turning back to the Messiah before He returns.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So I think the tough part is people seem to struggle because Christians tend to have a heart for Israel because of some of the end times prophecy. Israel being established as a nation and winning all these wars does seem like a miracle, anyone that knows the history. The tough part is, how does someone balance being for Israel without necessarily giving Israel a blank check to do whatever they want, and which can change depending on who's in power and what coalition and what people you know what I mean, people have to appeal to. Like, how do you balance that tension? And or how should we as Christians that hey, I think Israel should exist. I think Israel has, I don't think the church has replaced Israel, right? I think that God still has a plan for Israel, the Jewish people. However, that doesn't mean I endorse everything that is happening in every military operation, but that's how you'll kind of get placed in society, right? So I'll just say, hey, I think Israel has a right to exist, and I think they need to defend themselves and prevent future attacks. However, I don't know about all the military operations. Some of this stuff seems a little heavy-handed, And BB seems super sus and sketchy to me, So how can we detangle some of that?
I feel like, I believe that's what I see. This is right now what's happening is like, you're either for Israel, you're either not for Israel. You cannot be somewhere, you cannot be, but the reality is it's not black and white. The reality is that some things happen. Yes, in general, yes, I'm from Israel. Yes, I'm praying for the nation of Israel. Yes, I'm praying for the peace of Jerusalem. I'm praying for revival in Israel. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna give them, like you said, a blank check to do whatever they want. Yeah. So it's like, be able to watch. Like some people have like one stream of news where they see everything, and their opinion is based on that. Yeah. But it's like, the news always fluctuate and change and everything. It's one day they are in the beginning of October 7th. Yeah, Israel wants A few months later, they have they cannot do anything. So it's like always going back to the source, to the Bible, to the scriptures, and always remind myself, like, try to put the glasses of not the physical reality of what I see, like the spiritual reality, what is God is doing.
Do you think that there's a spiritual reality of some of the, I won't full on go to call it anti-Semitism, but definitely anti-Zionism, where Zionism is like a bad word, when Zionism just means the people of Israel have a right to their homeland, right? And you're just seeing more people, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, people that are throwing around the word genocide, people that are throwing around this moral equivalency of like the IDF, unfortunately, killing civilians, even though doing everything they can to the October 7th slaughter, intentional slaughter, right? What do you make of some of that specific anti-Zionism? Again, I'm not going to go out and call these folks all anti-Semites, but the anti-Zionism coming from the West
feels like it's hard. No, I'm not saying everybody, but it feels like it's the same thing but different names. Like the root of it is just like basically, when October 7 happened and I felt unsafe in my own country, I felt unsafe in Israel. And I was like, well, I don't know where, if the terrorists were going to come. They were basically 30, 40 minutes from my house. No traffic. Tel Aviv is really. But if I felt so unsafe in my country, but I felt unsafe outside of Israel. They were like calling to all Israelis from the ISS, Israel Security Services, do not fly almost anywhere in the world. It's like, I was supposed to have a trip to Uganda, share the gospel with many people, with your friend Rabbi Christian YouTuber, and that was canceled because of because myself being not only Israeli but Jewish person. So it's like all over the world, Jewish people suffered just for them being Jewish. And I think that the anti-Zionism, it's like, it's like get rid of them of being. It's not about like being in the country. It's like it's my source of being God's chosen people. So no matter where they're gonna be, gonna come for them. Because I believe, my understanding of the scripture is like, whenever the enemy is gonna be finished with Israel, he could make God liar, because Israel won't be saved and Messiah won't be back. So that's a tension, like through the history. It's like they are the blessed ones, but they carry so much, but the enemy will try.
Yeah. Tell me your heart for the Palestinian people, because I think, man, they got a rough hand in some of this stuff, right? Generationally, they've been in a situation where I think there's programming that's happened and brainwashing that's happened with the occupation and all these sorts of things, right? But that most of my Israeli friends aren't hostile towards Palestinians.
Yeah.
Most of my Israeli friends want some sort of peaceful resolution, two-state solution. I don't know what your position is, but share just your heart about towards the Palestinian people, the Palestinian people you know personally, the Palestinian people in the West Bank, the Palestinian people in Gaza. Share your heart with that.
Yeah, I have a lot of Palestinian friends that are Christians, and we have different opinions on how should things be handled, but still have the love of Christ, and I just love them. And I brothers and sisters, like solid. I have one of my best friends is Arab Israeli, and the thing is that those conflicts, that they're coming, and I can really understand the other. I cannot fully understand because I'm not Palestinian, but I see sometimes how the system, because checkpoints, stuff that they're going through every day that are just like so hard, security stuff. And I understand why Israel is doing that, 100%, the safety of their civilians. But the other hand, the other people, and people that live in the West Bank, it's different to be Palestinian, live in the West Bank, and then you have Arab Israelis where they live and it's just like live like a normal Israeli, and just like
because there's Arab Israelis that are, correct me if I'm wrong, Israeli citizens. There's Arab Israelis, or they're technically they're Arabs who live in Israel, but they're not citizens. They have resident cards.
Yeah.
And then there is Palestinians in the West Bank that have work visas that drive across, hundreds of thousands of them.
And right now, they kind of like shut it down because of what happened.
Yeah.
So that's works visas because a lot of people.
And they make better money in Israel than they do on the other side, right? Now, there's probably a myriad of reasons why. And then you have Palestinians that don't have work permits.
Yeah.
And then you have Palestinians in Gaza.
Yes.
And only a few thousand of them have work permits or had where I don't think what's going on now.
Like nothing.
Yeah. All of that is very different experiences of life. Talk a little bit about that.
I believe that the Arab Israelis that live in Israel probably have the best living experience because they get, living, they study, they do whatever. Of course, that's inside the system, like the system. They have like Arabs, like some places would be racist in a way, it's like me being black or whatever. But living in Gaza and being a Palestinian that lives in Gaza, it's a whole different thing, like disconnected from Israel. It's like a whole other, they're under that Hamas authority, actually. Hamas is not like it's not only a terrorist organization, it was an organization that was elected by the people in Gaza. So, and the PA in the West Bank. So it's like different, but looking at all of those, and I'm sharing my heart, is like, I have friends that are from Gaza and now they live in Israel, and we just love each other, brothers and sisters. And what connected us is Jesus. And even if somebody is not a believer in Jesus, is like Muslim or whatever, I just love them because of Christ.
Yeah. Would you say that's most Israelis' hearts towards Palestinians? No. Okay, talk to me about that.
It's different. When I look, because a lot of Israelis, like, they also been fed by a lot of things, the terror attacks and the racism about like Arab, some would call Arab with like so many racist callings and stuff. Like, for instance, there's like soccer team in Israel, it's like Jerusalem, it's called Beitar Yerushalayim. It's like Jerusalem's like largest club, football club, soccer club, we call it football, and we never allow any Arab player to play there. It's like there's like two Muslim players who want to play there. Like, everybody was protesting because it's like just blind hate, like toward any Arab or whatever. But those people, when they go to the military teaches you that no matter whose person is in front of you, is first of all a person. There is a paper when you get into the military, it's called the spirit of the IDF. It's like the basic things of like human beings. Treat each one like whatever, whoever comes. It's like, so people are gonna also brainwash on the other side, like in Israel, like they have like, and of course I understand because they have like a history of like they want to see, like, for instance, you're standing in a bus station, you like you see an Arab person, and it looks, you're not sure, so you think maybe it's like about to do something. I don't know. So like people have that in their head.
Yeah. You know what the trip about that is that when I was in Israel, I couldn't tell the difference between an Israeli, because I think in America we think Jewish and we think like, the more like ultra Orthodox folks you see with the hats and the beards in rocking around Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Israel, I didn't see a lot of those folks. I saw Israeli folks, people in the IDF with yarmulkes that look Arab, people that had yarmulkes that look white, people that had yarmulkes that look like you, they were black.
Yeah.
I saw all shades and colors of Israelis. So I didn't know if I'm talking to an Arab Christian, an Arab Muslim, an Arab Jew, or someone that looks like an Arab that's Jewish, right? Because it just looked, I didn't get it. So it's weird how you can be racist against people that people of your own ethnicity look like.
Yeah, that's crazy, because it's like I'm going to Israel, I see like the same thing, the same culture. I'm seeing Arab people, most of them, like listening to all of those Israeli artists, like the same music, the same thing, the same almost culture, but then have the tension because of their just like different, like Jew and Muslim and everything. It's like just seeing it from a human being's perspective, you won't understand. But when you like see their spiritual perspective,
no, it's similar to. I'm from Baku, and in Baku you have Arzis, you have Armenians. Baku Armenians are different than like Armenians from Armenia. Baku Armenians are different than Armenians from Lebanon. Baku Armenians are definitely different than Armenians that have been in Glendale for 50 years, right? But Baku Armenians, the culture between Baku Armenians and Baku Arzis is the same. It's the same slang. They talk the same. They may look slightly different, but their skin tones are the same. They kind of have that Middle Eastern Arab look to them, right? But for whatever reason, you have the pogroms that happened in the late 80s, and there were some Arzis that helped Armenians escape, and then there were some Arzis that killed Armenians. Like it doesn't make sense on this stuff. But you're right that like culturally it's very similar. The slang is similar. They all spoke Russian, you know what I mean, as their primary language. So it's such a trip when you really get down to it. Now, would you say your Arab friends or your Palestinian friends, do they harbor the same hostility towards Jews and towards Israelis, or is it the same? Like, is the tension equal towards the other?
I think it's different, and it's like you have different. I think most of the tension and things that happen is basically because growing up, people don't meet each other actually, and they have, for instance, one example of culture difference is like language. They speak Arabic. Jewish people speak Hebrew, and they never interact and have something. When I grew up as a teenager, I had youth conferences, like we did worship together, and it was like Arab and Jews together, and it was mixing. I was singing Arabic worship songs, so I encounter and engage. And my friends today, like we're no longer teenagers, we experience teenager times together, so we learn about each other and we experience each other. And now when we have differences, like we have different opinions for sure, but we still have this common ground. Yes, you're a human being. We are.
That's beautiful.
Exactly.
But it sounds like you're saying most people unfortunately don't get the experience you got growing up.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Gosh, man. Well, tell us how we could be praying for everything that's going on in Israel, and what are some things you're doing on the ground and some of the worship initiatives you're doing with your music and the different events you've been doing in Israel.
Yeah. So, since October 7th happened, actually, I released a song before October 7th happened. It was all about praising the Lord. It was about Psalm 100, and it was such a happy song and joyful song. And I thought it was the best time. And October 7th happened, and I lost my voice for a few days. And I will share this short testimony. I was walking by the beach. It was right after October 7th, and it was a Saturday morning, and then a siren started. I was like, oh no, I gotta find a shelter. I don't know where there's a shelter. And I was looking to my right and left. People were not still outside. They were afraid of rockets. Some people, and they ran it into this small cave. We all entered that cave, and we just prayed that this rocket won't hit us. And some people were crying, or some faced their families. And I was like, wow, God is like, do something. And out of nowhere, in those time of stress, 3 ultra-Orthodox Jews came out of nowhere. And they were looking at us, guys, why are you afraid? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they were like, don't be afraid. Just say to that Abba, say, thank you, Father. I was like, whoa. And they said, like, not only that, let's say together Psalm 100. And that's the song that I composed right before. And they started saying Psalm 100. I joined them. I knew it by heart because I just composed the song. And they were like, who are you? How do you know it by heart? You don't look religious. And I just joined and said those words, and I felt the peace of God. That Psalm 100 says, enter his gates with thanksgiving, his courts with praise, and know that the Lord is God, he who made us for himself. And it's like the Lord is good, his mercy is everlasting, and all of those truths. And like gave me so much peace in that moment of worship. And I was like, I figured out, worship is one of the strongest things, that can help in those moments. So I'm like working on a Hope album right now, Hope and Healing album from Israel. Something I do, like we had events with even just Jewish people, secular people coming, hearing songs, some worship, some just prayer for God, and praying for Israel specifically and the whole region. I will say, pray for the hostages to be back. More than that, I would pray for the captive hearts. Not only the captive people physically in Gaza, but the people in Israel that needs to find out Jesus is Messiah. So pray for the peace of Jerusalem, but pray for salvation in Israel, in Gaza, because we heard about a lot of dreams and visions that are occurring right now there. May God make it like profound all over Gaza and save much people all over Lebanon, all the borders. Say.
Have you heard that closer on the ground? Because we've been hearing reports of people in Gaza having visions of Jesus, dreams of Jesus. Are you hearing about this stuff?
I heard about this stuff on the news, but not Israeli news, American news.
American news. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for being here, brother. Appreciate you guys. If you want to see my very first conversation with Emmanuel on the ground in Israel, sharing a bit of his story of growing up as a Black Messianic Ethiopian Christian Jew, we'll pin that over here. All right. We'll see you guys over there. Peace.